In life, we chase money, comfort, and dreams, believing time will always wait for us. But what if one day time stopped, not on the clock, but in our hearts? This is the story of a man who learned that the most valuable thing in life is not time itself, but what we do with it. In a quiet little town surrounded by green hills, there lived an old clockmaker named Henry. His shop sat under a tall oak tree, filled with hundreds of clocks ticking in harmony. People said Henry could fix any clock in the world, even the ones everyone else gave up on. Henry's son, Evan, worked with him, but his heart was elsewhere. He wanted more excitement, more money, more life. He often looked out the window and thought, "One day I will leave this place behind." Henry, with his calm smile, would often say, "Son, time is like water. You can never hold it forever, but if you use it wisely, it can shape everything around you." Evan never really understood what his father meant. One summer morning, a letter came from the city. A big company looking for salesmen. They offered high pay, bonuses, and a chance to live in luxury. Evan did not think twice. He packed his things, ready to chase his dreams. Before leaving, his father gave him a small pocket watch. "This belonged to your grandfather," Henry said. "It has never stopped ticking. It is not gold, but it is priceless. Keep it close and it will remind you what really matters." Evan smiled politely and said, "Thank you, Father, I will not forget." Then he walked away, not knowing that this goodbye would be his last. The city welcomed him with noise, lights, and endless movement. He worked hard and success came fast. Every time he looked at the pocket watch, he smiled for a second, but soon his meetings, deadlines, and ambitions drowned that small piece of home. His father's letters came every few weeks, written carefully in fading ink. "How is the city, son? The shop is quiet without you. I hope you are eating well." Evan always told himself he would reply later, but later never came. Years passed. The sound of ticking clocks in his memory grew faint. Then one afternoon, while he was in a meeting, his phone rang. A number from his hometown flashed on the screen. He almost ignored it, but something inside told him to pick up. "Mr. Henry has passed away," a soft voice said. The words hit him like a hammer. The world around him blurred. He left everything and drove through the night until he reached home. The shop was dark and cold. Dust covered the shelves. The clocks on the wall stood still, frozen in silence. On the workbench lay a folded note in his father's handwriting. It said, "My son, if you are reading this, I am gone. I never wanted to give you money or gold. I only wanted to give you time. But maybe now you will understand what it truly means." Evan sat there for hours, surrounded by silent clocks. The air felt heavy with the weight of all the moments he had missed. He took the pocket watch from his coat. It was still ticking. For the first time in years, he listened. It sounded like his father's heartbeat. He whispered, "I thought I had all the time in the world." Then slowly he stood up, wound one of the old clocks, and listened as it began to tick again. Then another and another. The shop came alive with hundreds of ticking sounds filling the air like music. And just then he noticed something strange. On the back of the pocket watch, there was a faint engraving he had never seen before. Words so small he had to hold it close to the light. It said, "When the last clock stops, you will find the truth." Evan stared at it in confusion, his heart racing. What truth? What did his father mean? He did not know it yet, but his father had left behind something far more valuable than gold. A secret about time that would change his life forever. That night, Evan could not sleep. The words on the back of the pocket watch kept echoing in his mind. "When the last clock stops, you will find the truth." He sat inside the shop, surrounded by hundreds of clocks, each ticking at its own rhythm. The sound was comforting yet haunting. He wondered what his father meant. Why that message? What truth was hidden behind these clocks? Over the next few days, he cleaned and repaired every clock in the shop, just like his father used to. With each clock he fixed, he felt a strange connection, as if every sound carried a whisper from the past. Some clocks had notes inside, small pieces of paper with words his father had written to customers long ago. One said, "Time heals when love stays." Another said, "Do not measure life in years, measure it in smiles." Evan began to realize his father had not just been a clockmaker. He had been a teacher, a healer, someone who used time to remind people how precious every second truly was. One rainy evening, as thunder rolled outside, a strong gust of wind pushed open the shop's door. A young boy stood there, drenched, holding a small clock wrapped in cloth. "Sir, my grandfather said this was fixed by a man named Henry. He told me if it ever stops, I should bring it back here." Evan took the cloth and opened it. Inside was a familiar design, a clock built exactly like his father's earliest works. On the back, carved faintly, were the initials HW and a date, the same day Henry had opened the shop decades ago. The boy said, "Can you make it tick again?" Evan smiled. "Yes, I think I can." He carefully opened the clock, replaced a small spring, and wound it. The sound of ticking filled the room again. The boy's eyes lit up. He said, "This clock reminds us that time always finds its way back home." Evan froze. That was something his father always used to say. After the boy left, Evan sat back, holding the clock in his hands. He looked around the shop at the hundreds of ticking clocks and suddenly realized something. Every clock his father had ever fixed, every single one, eventually stopped. And now only a few were still ticking. Maybe the message meant that when the last one stopped, the truth his father wanted him to see would finally appear. Months passed. Evan reopened the shop fully, naming it Henry & Son Clockworks. People from nearby towns started visiting again. They did not just come to fix their clocks. They came to talk, to share memories, to remember the old man who had quietly taught everyone the meaning of time. Evan would listen to their stories and smile. In every story, his father's kindness lived on. And without realizing it, Evan had begun living exactly the life his father had always wanted for him. A life filled with patience, love, and meaning. Years went by. One cold winter night, Evan sat by the fire, holding his father's pocket watch. It was still ticking. He looked around and noticed that only one other clock was still running, the heart-shaped one he had rebuilt from his father's unfinished design. He watched them both tick side by side, their rhythm almost matching. And then slowly, the heart-shaped clock stopped. Evan's eyes widened. He held the pocket watch close to his ear. It was still ticking, but faintly softer than before. His hands shook as he turned it around and looked at the engraving again. Suddenly, a small compartment on the back of the watch clicked open, something he had never noticed before. Inside, there was a folded piece of paper, yellowed with age. He opened it carefully. It read, "My dear Evan, if this watch ever opens, it means the last clock has stopped and time has done its work. The truth I wanted you to find is simple. Time is not a race to win. It is a gift to share. You spent years chasing what you thought mattered, but life was waiting for you right here. In every tick you ignored. I never wanted to give you wealth because real wealth is knowing how to spend time, not money. The moment you give your time to others, that is when your heart starts ticking again. That is when time truly lives." Tears filled Evan's eyes. He closed the note gently and held the watch to his chest. For the first time, he felt complete peace. The next morning, he placed the pocket watch in the center of the shop, beside the heart-shaped clock. He wound both of them, and their ticking filled the room in perfect harmony. One beat steady and strong, the other softer, like a whisper from his father's soul. From that day forward, Evan made it his mission to teach others what his father had taught him. He fixed clocks, but more than that, he helped people see the beauty in time. Children would come just to listen to the ticking, and he would tell them, "Time is not what you lose, it is what you give." And though years passed, people said that the little clock shop on Maple Street never felt empty. Even when Evan grew old and his hands shook, the clocks never stopped ticking. Some swore they could still hear two heartbeats, one of the father, one of the son, echoing together in time. One evening, after closing the shop, Evan sat by the window watching the sunset. He smiled softly and whispered, "Thank you, Father, for teaching me how to live before time ran out." As the final ray of light faded, the heart-shaped clock ticked once more and then went still. But inside the pocket watch on the table, the ticking continued. Gentle, steady, eternal. Because love never runs out of time. Time is not measured by clocks or calendars. It is measured by presence, kindness, and love. When you spend your time with purpose, you never truly lose it. It becomes part of the people you touch, the lives you change, and the memories you leave behind.